You'll never beat nepotism.
I am a nepo baby.
What's a nepo baby?
It's short for nepotism. You have like a successful parent, and that's the only reason you're successful.
Your daughter's in the business now.
She's doing
Margaret
really...
Qualley.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Yeah. It's funny because people will be like, oh, like nepotism. I'm like, no, my dad's a DP. Like, no one's getting jobs because their dad's a DP.
Romeo Beckham just made his runway debut at Balenciaga yesterday. He is the 22-year-old son of David and Victoria Beckham. He's the second oldest of 4 kids.
I am begging Lily-Rose Depp and all nepo babies to just shut up and stop being delusional about nepotism playing a role in their careers.
I really do feel that once your foot is in the door, which you unfairly got in, then you have to work almost twice as hard and be twice as good.
Listen, nepo babies aren't the worst. We gotta stop giving them a bad name. It's not their fault.
I wish I had a little in.
Me? I wish.
You know what? I actually think that there's no greater heartbreak than discovering your favorite new underground artist you're now literally obsessed with, or a fresh face in Hollywood that managed to capture your heart, only to Google them later and see their parents' names glowing blue on Wikipedia. Yeah, nowadays it feels like every single corner of the entertainment industry is crawling with nepo babies. I mean, we don't even get new faces in Hollywood anymore, right? Nepotism isn't just annoying, it's one of the many daggers in the back of creative fields today. While regular people have to be extraordinary just to get noticed, for nepo babies, everything magically gets done before they even had a chance to open their mouth.
And I like presented the cutest like little modeling book to my mom when I was like 14, and then she did her Kris Jenner things and made it all come to life.
The nepotism conversation isn't anything new, and let's be honest, we all kind of hate nepo babies, right? And why shouldn't we? Mediocrity has become the new standard, and people are literally starved for brilliance. That being said, recently the nepotism discourse came roaring back after Gracie Abrams, American singer, songwriter, and certified nepo baby, took the Glastonbury stage and kind of butchered the legendary Just Like Heaven by The Cure.
Show me how you do that trick. The one that makes me scream, she said. The one that makes me laugh, she said. Threw her arms around my neck. Show me how you do that trick. The one that makes me scream. The one that makes me
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, the nepotism topic has been on my mind for the longest time, but now that I witnessed people on TikTok and Twitter absolutely lose their minds over Gracie's performance, I finally decided that it's time to make a proper video on it because I have things to say, okay? So today we are diving deep into the glittery cesspool of nepotism. We'll explore why we love to hate nepo babies, and is the hate always justified? Break down some of the best and worst and most cringe responses they have given to the backlash, use Gracie as a case study for the modern day nepotism, and finally ask the real question, is there anything nepo babies can do to win us over? Yeah, let's get into it.
Kendall's actually talked about wanting to be a model for a really long time. If this is what Kendall really wants to do, then I'm on board and I'll get the word out.
The term nepotism baby, or its shortened form nepo baby, started gaining traction in the early 2010s, but it really entered the cultural zeitgeist in 2022 when a Twitter user pointed out that Maud Apatow, who plays Lexi in TV series Euphoria, was a nepo baby. Wait, I just found out that the actress that plays Lexi is a nepotism baby? OMG. Her mom is Leslie Mann and her dad is a movie director. LOL. Twitter being Twitter, of course, turned this into a full-blown meme. Hundreds of users started posting sarcastic tweets, pretending to be shocked by celebrity parent connections. Wait, I just found out that the model that dated Timothée Chalamet is a nepotism baby. OMG. Her mom is Vanessa Paradis and her dad is an actor. LOL. Wait, I just found out that the guy that plays the Karate Kid is a nepotism baby. His mom is Jada Pinkett Smith and his dad is a movie producer. And there were dozens of tweets like these. I mean, you get the picture. My absolute favorites though were these. Wait, I just found out that the guy that did 9/11 is a nepotism baby. OMG, his mom is Barbara Bush and his dad killed JFK. I just found out that Jesus Christ is a nepotism baby. His father is God. This is crazy and so eye-opening. And even though this started as a joke, these viral tweets, they opened a can of worms and they revealed just how many nepo babies there truly are, and soon enough the term nepo baby was also trending on TikTok. Although nepo babies have been around since literally the dawn of time, which we'll get to in this video as well, but until 2022 it seemed like nobody really cared. But suddenly nepo baby became part of the collective vocabulary, and it seemed like everywhere you looked, every fresh face on screen, every indie artist you discovered turned out to be the child of someone famous. The term gained even more traction when New York Magazine published their now infamous December 2022 edition, literally declaring it the year of the nepo baby. Yeah, I still cannot get over how iconic this cover was. Anyway, so what is nepotism? Let us quickly define the term. So the definition of nepotism is as follows: the practice among those with power and influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. Okay, but before we ruthlessly come for the next of our favorite nepo babies, I want to do something a little bit different here for a second. So this section is actually going to be a little bit more chatty and personal. So if you don't care and you're only here for the Gracie Abrams conversation or like general nepo baby shade, there's going to be plenty of that. So feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps will be in the description as always. For those sticking around, I want us to hold up a mirror to ourselves, because I'm gonna be honest, I often see people being super duper hypocritical when it comes to this entire topic. And I'll go ahead and say that I don't really understand this blind hate towards nepo babies. Like when someone goes absolutely feral over a celebrity who hasn't really said or done anything, you know, simply because they just happen to have rich and famous parents, like that honestly comes off as kind of petty to me. Be honest, if you had super wealthy and successful parents who gave you unlimited resources to chase your dreams and fuel your passions, would you really be like, you know what, I'm actually too privileged and undeserving of this, so I think I'm gonna pass on this opportunity, but thanks though? Yeah, I don't think so. And me personally, like if a friend or a parent or a partner opened the door for me, like I would absolutely walk through it. I would be stupid not to, do you know what I mean?
I also always believed that just because I was born with advantages, like it's not even just because, it's because I was born with these advantages and have these passions that I have, I'd be doing such an incredible disservice to myself to not pursue them. And it's almost like, why would I, if I love these things so much, like why would I not pursue them just in the like vein of I don't want to offend other people, or like I don't want to be nepotism or this or that. Like no, like I love these things, so I'm gonna fucking try my hardest, my absolute hardest to pursue them.
Also, like people tend to forget that nepotism isn't just a Hollywood thing or the music industry thing. We peasants, we actually see the effects of it all the time. In German, for example, I've learned that nepotism is called
Vetternwirtschaft.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Like German is not one of my languages, but that word translates directly to cousin economy, which feels pretty spot on, don't you think? And cousin economy, it's everywhere. It might not be called that, but it is deeply woven into our everyday life. Take me as an example. I actually grew up in a small country called Azerbaijan, and believe it or not, I was pretty familiar with the idea of nepotism since my literal childhood, even though at the time I did not really know this term, nor could I speak a proper English. But we had and still have this word called tanışlık, which if any fellow Azerbaijani is watching right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This word, it roughly translates to familiarity or acquaintance, but the general gist is that if you landed a job, got a promotion, or somehow moved forward in life, people would always wonder if this happened through tanışlık, aka if you knew someone who knew the boss, or you were niece or nephew of the boss. And here's the funny part. I actually ended up pursuing a career that is totally different from my parents. For context, my mom is in medicine and my dad is an engineer, while I studied business administration and have worked in management and finance. And I remember being celebrated for this decision that I made, and not even by my parents, but by random people like neighbors or friends of my family. I was being told that I achieved everything on my own without tanışlık, aka nepotism, and I really vividly remember that being highlighted to me over and over again, and me being praised for truly working hard, which now looking back at it, it genuinely seems super weird. Because if I had become a doctor like my mom or my grandparents, or somehow followed in my family's footsteps, would that automatically mean that I was lazy and undeserving of respect? Well, I actually don't think so, because yes, I would have probably received advice and expertise and knowledge passed down, and that would have definitely made things easier for me, but I would still have to work my ass off, especially as a doctor. I guess what I'm trying to say with this is that we all got some job or some opportunity or some internship because someone we know knew someone, and that someone knew someone else, and I actually think that's okay. Like, we live in a society. Crazy idea, I know. It is literally why networking, I hate that word, is so emphasized in practically every field. Because let's be honest, it is often more about who you know than what you know. And while researching for this video, I actually combed through tons of posts and confessions from regular people talking about how they got the job because their mom's high school friend knew someone, or their cousin's girlfriend helped them land that internship. So even on those tiny micro levels, nepotism is everywhere. It surrounds us no matter where we're from, and in some cultures and fields it's just more blatant than the others. And that doesn't always mean that the person who benefited of nepotism isn't hardworking or deserving, and we're gonna circle back to it throughout the video, but truly luck and connections most of the time play a much bigger role in what opportunities you end up being presented in life. And that, I think, goes for each and every one of us. Hey, editing me. Again, we are gonna touch on how celebrities and billionaires sell us these rags to riches and self-made person stories later in this video as well. And I guess this section came off more in defense of nepotism, sort of. But truly, I feel like there's something to think about here. Like, the main thing I was trying to say, I guess, is that it is actually really harmful that we've all been sold this idea that if you ever received help from somebody, like to get a job or wherever, it somehow means that you're not a hardworking or good person, or that you do not deserve all the success that you have. I think it's fucked up how we are basically discouraged from having a community of people nowadays, like a community that helps each other and looks out for one another, and how even on these small individual levels we've become hostile towards anyone who got even a tiny bit of assistance from a friend or a relative.
And this got me thinking about the concept of network impoverishment. Now, if you're not aware, network impoverishment is a leftover from institutional racism that also is a characteristic of classism. And what it describes is a phenomenon where essentially folks who are low income, largely in segregated communities, do not have networks, as in their immediate community, where they are able to access resource, right? The opposite of this would be network enrichment, which is like, we think about that as nepotism, right?
Now, let's get into the crux of today's video, the Gracie Abrams conversation. And I'm focusing on her so much in this video just because I feel like Gracie is kind of a perfect case study to help us understand why people despise nepo babies so much. And it is also a chance for us to look at nepotism with a little more nuance, because so far the discourse, especially around Gracie's performance at Glastonbury, has been very black and white. The internet either incessantly hurls nepo baby insults at her, calling her completely talentless and mediocre, or you've got diehard stans insisting that Gracie achieved everything she has through pure hard work. So let's dig in and let's start with the basics. Who is Gracie Abrams? So Gracie is the daughter of J.J. Abrams, the director behind massive projects like Star Trek, Star Wars, Mission Impossible, and one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Yeah, argue with the wall. Gracie apparently has been passionate about music from a young age, and she began writing songs at just 8 years old. In 2019, she was signed by Interscope Records, an American label whose roster includes Selena Gomez, Lady Gaga, Maroon 5, Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, and One Republic, just to name a few. And this is the kind of label deal that would probably never have happened to a random underground artist, especially not one who was still trying to figure out their sound. On her first 2 extended plays, Minor and This Is What It Feels Like, she worked with massive producers like Aaron Dessner, Joel Little, and Blake Slatkin, people who have worked with the likes of Taylor Swift, Khalid, Imagine Dragons, and Justin Bieber. She also performed as an opening act on Olivia Rodrigo's Sour Tour in 2022 and Taylor Swift's Eras Tour in 2023 and 2024. So yeah, the Nepo baby allegations, well, I'm afraid they are not going anywhere with a resume like that. Now, for the record, I have nothing against Gracie. I'm not her huge fan, but I don't dislike her either. I guess I'm the most familiar with her more popular songs, like Close to You, for example. I always enjoy watching people dance to that song on her concerts. And what else? I also know I Love You, I'm Sorry, and that song that went viral on TikTok. I think some of her lyrics are actually kind of beautiful, and I approve of her taste in men, wink wink. And if she ever comes to my city, I would go to her gig, honestly, also because no one ever comes here, so we take every chance we get. So as you can see, I'm pretty neutral / leaning positive towards Gracie. Like, in general, I think she's okay. I definitely think that people go way overboard with the hate towards her sometimes. Like, some of the comments I've seen, pretty unhinged, I'm not gonna lie. That being said, even I wonder, like, would she have risen up this quickly if it weren't for her dad's connections? Or would it have taken years and years longer if she ever got her big break at all? Just getting the chance to perform at an iconic, massive music festival such as Glastonbury is a huge opportunity, one that many artists will never get. And you know what? I actually thought that Gracie did a pretty decent job at performing her own songs at the festival. She definitely sounded better than in some of her past live performances that I've personally seen, and I really don't think she would have gotten nearly as much backlash had she not decided to cover Just Like Heaven by The Cure. Her rendition actually set the internet on fire, and people came at her with amplified hate, accusing her of having no talent, being a nepo baby, and an industry plant. But along with spiteful comments, I've of course also seen those defending Gracie, saying that she had to work her ass off to get to where she is today, and that they wouldn't even know who J.J. Abrams is if it weren't for Gracie. Now, come on, that is literally not how nepotism works. Like, just because you personally don't know who J.J. Abrams is, which by the way you should, because he literally directed some of the biggest IPs in the world, but still, if you don't know him, that still doesn't mean that he had zero influence on her career. Like, of course, I doubt that anyone is listening to Gracie just because they're a massive fan of J.J. Abrams, you know, but I'm sure his connections, his name and influence, and of course money are undeniably part of the reason anyone even knows Gracie's name today. And you know, unlike many, Gracie actually never said anything obnoxious about being a nepo baby. She once gave what I would consider a fairly neutral response in this interview.
On TikTok, a lot of the conversations are about nepotism babies, but it seems like when people talk about that online, you're always the exception. They're like, oh, nepotism babies, but my favorite one is Gracie Abrams. What do you feel about that title? How do you feel about that in general?
I mean, listen, like, the familial connections are out of our control. Like, I think I don't even feel any type of way. I think like the internet is a funny place for people to call anyone names, and I feel like I've been lucky in that it doesn't necessarily like get to me or anything, but I also completely understand where like anyone is coming from who would see like, oh, this person's mother or father is in some, you know, lane in the entertainment industry. I'm sure that it feels like there are unfair advantages, and it's inevitable, like it's undeniable that there is like a privilege in having even grown up around the knowledge of what the entertainment world looks like at all.
Yeah, but just because of who your parents are, that's not going to make you the incredible songwriter that you are.
I hope not, but I also do know that I definitely feel really lucky that I even grew up in a house where like I had, there was an adult in my life who was a grown-up telling stories all the time, and to know that that doesn't have to end when you're a kid.
There's also this piece of misinformation floating around that Gracie apparently claimed that her background doesn't define her artistry because her dad is in the movies and not music, and people have taken that quote and ran with it, like bringing up every single time they want to drag her, when in reality, like, Gracie never ever said that. That quote, it was fake. It came from a parody page designed to test if people actually fact-checked what they read. Spoiler alert, they don't. So then, why does the internet seem to hate this particular nepo baby so much, like especially lately? I mean, I think every time she performs live, she ends up under a microscope, and yeah, people do make fun of her constantly for her live performances. Again, I too feel like she still has a long way to go when it comes to singing live. But I think her Glastonbury performance and the Cure cover in particular especially didn't do her any favors. It's one thing to be a little off key and breathless while performing your own songs. I feel like people might let that slide, but when you're covering someone else's work, yeah, the standards, they go way up. And it's not just for Gracie. I feel like people in general are very sensitive and picky and protective over the covers of their favorite artists, not to mention when it's about the band as legendary as The Cure. So when Gracie's cover of Just Like Heaven fell flat, it wasn't just a disappointing performance. It felt almost disrespectful to some. On top of that, Gracie's performance contrasted with Olivia's. I don't know if this was planned at all or not, but they literally covered the same song at Glastonbury. And not only Olivia did it so much better in my opinion, but she also brought Robert Smith, the actual frontman of The Cure, on stage.
He is perhaps the best songwriter to come out of England. He is a Glastonbury legend and a personal hero of mine. Would you please welcome Robert Smith?
So when we compare two young women around the same age singing the same song, and then nepo baby completely butchers an iconic song, while Olivia, who by the way isn't a nepo baby, delivers an outstanding performance, I mean, it makes sense why people would get mad. Especially when it comes to music. I mean, we are even more judgmental and critical of the nepo babies in the music industry, just because unlike acting, it is solo and there is literally nowhere to hide if you deliver a subpar performance. And what Gracie Abrams' Glastonbury incident really showed us is this: people are more eager to give someone a pass, even if that someone is a nepo baby, if there is a clear talent on display. Like, think about it, genuinely talented nepo babies usually go unscathed. Take Miley Cyrus, Chris Pine, or Sofia Coppola. Because with incredibly talented people, you never have to sit there and wonder, like, how the hell did they make it this far? You know what I mean? Like, you just get it. It's when we see mediocrity, like in Gracie's case, that we start asking questions and we start wondering about all those equally, if not more talented Gracie Abrams of the world who don't have a director dad and who cannot afford to book a recording studio and who cannot take time off work to pursue their passions and who don't have access to people who know people. And of course, this conversation hits up even more when a nepo baby messes up really bad or lacks basic skills and is borderline really uncomfortable to watch. Nicole Kidman's daughter making her debut on the Miu Miu runway at Paris Fashion Week in 2024 comes to mind. Yeah, that was the walk.
Nicole Kidman's daughter walked Miu Miu at Paris Fashion Week, and everybody needs to go run and go watch her walk. It is the definition of nepotism. It's just absolutely shocking. And I believe that this might be her first walk ever, and for it to be at Miu Miu, for it to be at Paris Fashion Week, is just the definition of nepotism. And I just feel bad for all the models in the industry that don't come from nepotism, because they have to compete with all these nepotism babies that just get to walk the runway, have no experience, and that their walks are not strong. It's like every single year we have one nepotism baby that comes out to Paris Fashion Week that has probably never done a walk before, and it shows. And this is no hate. I just think at the end of the day, there are so many deserving people that could have walked this runway show that don't come from nepotism. And the fact that they have to compete with nepotism is just not fair.
Or take Brooklyn Beckham, son of Victoria and David Beckham, whose constant career hopping from modeling to photography to cooking and lack of any success in his endeavors has attracted ridicule online. And honestly, for damn good reason. And you know what? I feel like in general, like male nepo babies are not hated nearly as much as female ones on the internet. Let's open that case. I mean, it's a classic case of misogyny. What else is new under the sun, right? Now, I don't love when misogyny is used as a way to deflect valid conversations around nepotism or around any other issue, to be honest, like Emma Roberts, niece of Julia Roberts, kind of tried to do when she said young girls get it harder with the nepo baby thing. But she's also not entirely wrong. Like, even for me, when I try to name nepo babies off the top of my head, the ones that come to my mind immediately are women. Lily Collins, Dakota Johnson, Zoe Kravitz, Lily-Rose Depp, the Hadid sisters, Hailey Beiber. Meanwhile, the internet rarely puts male nepo babies like Timothée Chalamet, George Clooney, Nicolas Cage, Jake Gyllenhaal, or Robert Downey Jr. quite under the same microscope. And sure, you could argue that, well, maybe all the male nepo babies are just brilliant. I still don't see Enrique Iglesias, for example, getting absolutely dragged for being a talentless nepo baby, even when he's out there on stage doing whatever he's been doing lately. Yeah, I've spent my childhood and teenage years literally thirsting after that man, and even for me that's too much. Anyways, let's move on. So beyond mediocrity and lack of talent, let's discuss other reasons why we tend to dislike nepo babies. You know, I've noticed that we are unconsciously kinder to people who don't seem to come from privilege. When we learn that an indie artist whom we admired for their uniqueness and rawness have rich parents and a major label behind them, we start to question everything. Suddenly, a lack of vocal training doesn't seem like a charming quirk anymore. It just feels inexcusable. Or that gritty, artsy movie we thought was bold and experimental, oh, now it just looks like a lazy, self-indulgent project by someone who could have allocated the budget to make a better looking movie. Even the debut novel we were once willing to overlook for being messy suddenly reads differently once we learned that an author had an Ivy League degree, elite writing workshops, and a few grants along the way. So why does it happen? Well, I think it comes down to a few things, but the biggest one is definitely the myth of meritocracy. As the name suggests, meritocracy is the belief that people succeed based on talent, effort, and hard work rather than class, wealth, or family connection. It's a comforting idea, meritocracy. Like, as people, we want to believe that the system is fair and that hard work leads to success, especially when it comes to creative fields. When we see someone who appears to have come from nothing, we project sacrifice, effort, and authenticity to them. We gladly root for them because we see a version of ourselves in their story. Besides, struggle has cultural capital. That tortured artist, the starving poet, we romanticize the suffering. And when we don't see artists struggle or sacrifice, we start to question whether they really care, whether they have something to say, and whether they even have enough life experiences to draw from to make meaningful art. So the second we learn that someone had a massive head start, it's almost like a betrayal of this idea of meritocracy. When we learn that someone has money, connections, or safety nets, we start holding them to a much higher standard. Like, it's that thought of like, you had access to the best producers in the world and this is what you made. You had all the time, money, and support, and the music is still mid. To quote Allison Williams, a nepo baby best known for her roles in Girls and Get Out, to not acknowledge that me getting started as an actress versus someone with zero connections isn't the same, it's ludicrous. It doesn't take anything away from the work that I've done. It just means that it's not as fun to root for me.
I also imagine if I'm listening to this interview and I am, you know, young and want to be an actor, there are so many parts of this that are like unrelatable and very lucky that I had going for me like from the beginning. And I just want to name that because it is...
You're so kind.
So hard. No, but it's literally like unhelpfully lucky. There's so many layers to the whole conversation around like nepo babies or whatever. And I'm always like, it starts with the knowledge that like no matter what happened, I was going to be okay. That feeling of like there is a floor that I can't fall through already changes the way you go for things.
Well said, Allison. Like, honestly, this quote is basically TLDR of this entire video, and as you can see, not all nepo babies are absolutely delusional and out of touch. But the ones who are, yeah, they're just something else. And that brings us perfectly to the final reason we really, truly resent nepo babies. It's when they don't understand, or worse, flat out refuse to acknowledge just how uniquely blessed their positions are.
I judge people who are born fortunate and want to pretend like they're not. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't control what you were born into, and how lucky are you? Like,
I'm like, why
I know
is it bad?
it is what it is. I also think like, at the end of the day, I didn't control it. I didn't ask to be born into this family, but I was, and how fucking lucky am I? And it just is what it is. It's just as much as like I was born with brown eyes, like I was born into a Hollywood family. Like it just is what it is. I also think like, if people, me included, if people like owned where they came from more, I don't think people would be as angry as them. I think that it's like when people try to deny that who their parents were, like when people are like, yeah, like even though my parents are famous, like I did this all on my own. It's like, no, like that's not real. Like, sorry, as much as I can acknowledge that I've worked extremely hard and I can acknowledge my talent, like there are a billion talented people and there are a billion like hard fucking working people, more talented than I and more hardworking than I am. Like it just is what it is. And I was born into a family where I had the opportunities and grace to pursue what I wanted to pursue. And they helped open the door in 1.5 million ways. I think when people try to deny their opportunities and their like blessings, like that's when it's just fucked up. It's also like, dude, okay, like you're a musician or you're an actress and you come from a big Hollywood family or whatever it is, you're a nepotism kid, and you're so fucking talented. Like, I'm gonna root for you because you're talented, but the second that you try to say that it's only because of your talent and because of nothing else is when I'm gonna get annoyed with you. Like,
yeah, if there's one thing nepo babies absolutely hate, it's being called nepo babies. It makes them furious, as if you've just attacked them with the worst possible insult and erased every single good thing they've ever done. For instance, a Lily-Rose Depp, a 5'2" model, actress, and daughter of Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis. Lily is notorious for being kind of obnoxious with her comments surrounding nepotism, always emphasizing how she has to work twice as hard to prove herself. The internet seems to care a lot about that kind of stuff. People are going to have preconceived ideas about you or how you got there, and I can definitely say that nothing is going to get you the part except for being right for the part.
Did you feel like on those early auditions, expectations based on your parentage, like did you feel that like shadow in the room?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, you know, it's this industry like definitely doesn't let you forget it, you know, in this world. But that's okay. I mean, it's just the name of the game. It's just a part of it. And you know, I'm a hard worker. I always have been, and it's that hard work. It's being in the trenches kind of that I'm interested in, and so I don't mind like working harder if that's what people, I guess, want from me or something to like prove myself.
The internet cares a lot more about who your family is than the people who are casting you in things. Maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that. Okay, but here's the thing, like this is the exact part that so many nepo babies don't seem to grasp. Like getting your foot in the door is actually the hardest part. Millions of people with no connections hustle for years just for that one opportunity, that single chance to be seen, to be heard, to be taken seriously. And for most of them, one misstep can knock them right back out. Whereas nepo babies get endless chances to try and fail and try again, all while having the time, the money, and the best people around them to help them hone their craft. Like again, I don't have anything personal against Lily. I think she's fairly talented actually, and she's obviously gorgeous too. But the thing is, there are probably countless talented, trained actors who could absolutely outperform her. She just never has to compete against them because they're not even allowed in the room. I bet Lily actually believes that life is meritocracy because she's competing for jobs with other rich people. And don't even get me started on her modeling career, like not seeing a connection between her mom being a Chanel ambassador, Lily knowing Karl Lagerfeld since she was a literal child, and the fact that she's somehow an incredibly successful model at 5'2". interesting. Are we really pretending that she just happened to defy the odds in an industry where the standard has hovered around 5'9" for decades? Just because what? She's that unique and stunning? Again, I do actually think she's stunning, but that still doesn't mean that growing up in the front rows of fashion shows or atelier backrooms had nothing to do with where she is now. Pretending that Lily is not a product of privilege is just insulting to every single girl who was told you don't have the look, when in reality they just didn't have the last name. Okay, speaking of models, let's take a look at arguably the most aggravating example of all, Kendall Jenner, and how she allegedly had to work her ass off to get to where she is now in her modeling career.
My name is Kendall.
What do you say to those who accuse you of using your platform on the show to become a model? Or they
I mean, again, in the topic of like offensiveness to some of the things that people I think assume about our family, I think, you know, everyone around me, whether it's friends or family, knows how hard I worked and still work, and I did everything that I was supposed to do and had to do to get to the position that I'm at now as a model.
She argued against being a nepo baby and thanked her mom for magically getting her the job in the same interview. Got it.
Kendall, this isn't a joke. You have to start taking this really seriously. Come on.
I don't think she's into this.
Kendall.
What is that? Kendall Jenner modeling photos?
Modeling what?
That's gorgeous. Look at that. You look gorgeous.
Modeling what? What
These
is
pictures
this?
are beautiful.
Why, what do you want to do, Kendall?
Model.
Oh, boy.
Ever since I was 7 years old, I've always dreamed of modeling. So I decided to put a book together to show it to my mom.
She's 14 years old.
Oh, and you look like Kim here. Kendall does not look like Kim.
Kendall's actually talked about wanting to be a model for a really long time, but I just didn't know she was this serious about it. If this is what Kendall really wants to do, then I'm on board and I'll get the word out.
Right through there. I'm really nervous for my interview with Wilhelmina, and I don't know what I'm gonna say.
Well, you're certainly very photogenic.
Whenever my mom says we're doing a photo shoot, even with the whole family, just for like a family portrait, I'm always so excited.
Why don't we we'll take some Polaroids. We will email them off to a photographer of our choice, and then set up a test shoot.
And I love how she talks about running all over New York and Europe as if that alone isn't a massive privilege.
To every single casting, and ran all over not only New York City, but all over Europe trying to, you know, get a job. And
being able to afford plane tickets or living in a city with connections, that's not hustle, baby girl. That's access. Because, you know, most people trying to make it in the entertainment industry are expected to move to big cities like LA or New York, work 60+ hours for no pay, and live off savings just to have a chance of making it. Oh, and something else nepo baby models never seem to bring up, how their wealth buys them the ideal features, the noses, the cheekbones, the bodies that are then held up as the standard of beauty. That of course makes it harder for women with natural beauty, women with zero work done, to compete against them. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly Lily has or hasn't had done, though let's be real, she probably has done something. But in cases like Bella Hadid or Kendall Jenner, I mean, it's undeniable. And lastly, when it comes to both Lily and Kendall, let's talk about protection. When your family is already in the industry, you're almost like automatically shielded, like you don't have to navigate this minefield of predatory gatekeepers or shady people who tend to exploit newcomers. You already have people you can trust, people who will intentionally look out for you. That kind of safety net, it's an enormous privilege, and yet somehow no one seems to talk about that either. Okay, let's leave the girls alone for a minute and talk about Patrick Schwarzenegger, whom you might be familiar with from his role in The White Lotus. Here's what Patrick, son of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver, yes, Maria Shriver from the Kennedy family, had to say about being a nepo baby. I know there are people who will say I only got this role because of who my dad is. They're not seeing that I've had 10 years of acting classes, put on school plays every week, worked on my characters for hours on end, or hundreds of rejected auditions I've been on. Of course it's frustrating and you can get boxed in and you think at that moment, I wish I didn't have my last name. But that's a small moment. Yeah, like what is it with these nepo babies being unable to just look at their surname and recognize the utter power and privilege that it holds. Patrick, my dear, you're not just Schwarzenegger, you're also a Kennedy, like a Kennedy. How can you not see the power your parents have, both politically and in Hollywood? And on the whole topic of working hard just like everyone else, like no one is saying that you did not work hard, but the fact that you were in the industry in the first place, like that's the whole point. And do you know who cannot take 10 years of acting classes and go to endless auditions, Patrick? Most working class actors. And do you know why? Because they're also working day jobs in order to survive. Children of wealthy families like Patrick have the freedom to pick jobs in the arts and entertainment and to chase risky artistic careers, while others are more likely to be pushed into stable 9-to-5 jobs. Not because they lack passion or talent, but because they cannot afford to fail. Like, of course, it is easier to be an artist when you don't have to worry about money that pays for those acting lessons and dance classes and film shoots, etc, etc. Yeah, it must be nice to focus entirely on your art when you don't have to worry about rent or groceries, when your parents not only support you financially but emotionally too. That kind of security and encouragement is yet another massive privilege, and I cannot believe that I have to spell this all out. Again, I want to reiterate this point that I don't fault people for taking advantage of the opportunities handed to them. You were born into the right family? Great. Like, use the resources you have. Just please do not complain about it to the rest of us. And I get that privilege is often invisible to those who have it. Like, we see it all the time. White people struggling to acknowledge white privilege, or men pretending that male privilege doesn't exist. And with nepotism, it's kind of the same thing. Like, for some reason, people think that pointing out their privilege is the same as completely erasing their hard work, and it is not. It's just about admitting that you were luckier than most of the human population. And listen, I'm about to go on a bit of a tangent here, but it really annoys me when people pile shit on specific nepo babies, like Gracie Abrams, for example, while completely ignoring the fact that almost all celebrities, like probably most of your favorites, are nepo babies, or at the very least they all come from very privileged backgrounds. Take Taylor Swift, for example. While she's not a nepo baby per se, but come on, she did not necessarily come from the bottom either. Her parents drove her to singing lessons, bought her an expensive guitar for her birthday when she was just learning how to play. They even moved from Pennsylvania to Tennessee so that Taylor could continue doing music. So her family was clearly super supportive of her from the beginning. Her father, Scott Swift, literally invested $120,000 in buying 3% of Big Machine, Taylor's first record label. And having a stockbroker for a father in general, that kind of financial guidance and savvy really goes a long way, especially when you're navigating a cutthroat industry. And again, none of this means that she's not talented. She absolutely is. Like, I love Taylor's music. I think she's one of the best songwriters of our time, but let's not pretend that she made it despite her circumstances. Without that early support, sure, she might have still made it, but it would have probably taken longer and looked a lot different. And same with Billie Eilish. While Billie and Phineas aren't children of super duper famous people, their parents were just working actors, I still think that they were better off than a lot of other families. I mean, even the fact that their parents had time and resources to homeschool Billie and Phineas and give them space to nurture their talents, which Billie once said that the reason most parents don't homeschool their kids is because they're lazy and don't want to deal with it.
I think some people do it the wrong way, which is just like makes your life horrible and miserable and boring. And that's mainly because of your parents. Because parents are lazy as fuck. That's why they send their kids to school in the first place. I don't want to teach you, bitch.
That quote alone tells you that she might just be a little out of touch with the reality that most people live in. No, most parents aren't lazy. They just do not have the luxury of staying home, so they rely on schools because they're literally out there working full-time jobs to support their families. And Billie and Phineas often emphasize hard work in their interviews, and I don't doubt that that played a huge role in their success. They're both clearly talented. No one is questioning that. I want to make it very clear. But thinking that privilege wasn't a part of the equation in this case is delusional, because it absolutely was. And there are many examples like these, like dozens of celebrities who come from very comfortable lives, and I just find it genuinely fascinating that most of celebrities like straight up refuse to acknowledge their privilege, especially considering the fact that if they did, they would probably be praised for their honesty. After all, current generation absolutely loves a bit of self-awareness and self-deprecating humor. I actually immediately think of Hailey Beiber and how she was celebrated when she wore that nepo baby t-shirt, and people also lost their minds when she recently showed off her faux Eau de Nepo perfume in her What's in My Bag walk video.
This is my favorite perfume. I've basically been wearing this my entire life. I'm obsessed with it. It smells really vanilla. It's really gorgeous. It really does all the work for you without you having to do anything. Very effortless.
Maya Hawke, the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, best known for her role in Stranger Things, is also frequently praised for her response to the nepo baby discourse. There are so many people who deserve to have this kind of life who don't, but I think I'm comfortable with not deserving it and doing it anyway. It's okay to be made fun of when you're in rarefied air. It's a lucky place to be. Exactly. Like for most nepo babies, the worst thing about their blessed situation is that they have to convince people that they're actually good at singing or acting or comedy. Like that's literally it. So maybe stop complaining and just do that. But alas, most celebrities still insist on selling us these rags to riches stories. I guess it's also a very American thing, the entrepreneurial spirit, the self-made person, the American dream. These narratives are what keeps capitalism alive and promotes hustle culture to the masses.
So we have this idea that everyone is working hard to make their money, that hard work is the cornerstone of success. If you're watching my content, I'm sure you already know that that is an absolute and complete myth. However, there is still this lingering idea that when it comes down to being human, right, that we all get the same 24 hours and we all kind of have to do our best work to get things done. But when it comes to wealth, that's not true. People are able to essentially purchase the most robust and resourced community to run their life. They have, at the most high degree of operation, infrastructure for almost every function of their lives. Imagine what your day would look like if you had a team of people that woke you up, that had already made your schedule, that were taking care of your housekeeping, your childcare, your garden, that were making sure that your bills were paid, that were moving around your finances for you, all behind the scenes. They were booking your doctor's appointments, your travel. Whenever you had a question or needed an insight, you were able, instead of having 50,000 tabs up on your computer to research the issue yourself and wondering if the information was credible, if you had access to the most elite and expert minds on that subject, that you could field your question, get an answer, and deliver the result that you needed. This is what wealthy people live. I want us to think about that in terms of community as well. We are community-oriented animals. Most of us have had to learn over time, if we have it all, how to be self-motivated. Self-motivation is one of the hardest things that almost everyone I've ever met in my life struggles with. How do I self-start? Wealthy people don't have to. If you are hungover, if you are tired, if you forgot your alarm clock, you have a team of people that are paid to make sure that you are out of bed, that your breakfast is made, that you are moving from point A to point B throughout your day. Additionally, this system of delegation manages and delegates itself, meaning that if you have a set of responsibilities, right, for your company, for your business, right? Think Kim Kardashian, think Jeff Bezos, but even smaller level wealthy people, you are only handed in the course of a single day the essential actions that pertain to you that have already largely been synthesized, processed, and managed to be as simple as possible for you to execute on. Now, for working class people, for most regular people in general, we are both the clients and the managers of our own lives, as in we reap the benefits of our planned vacations, of the apartment that we rent, of the furniture we buy, but we are also responsible for implementing and delivering on those processes, right? We have to plan that vacation. We have to organize and pay those bills. We have to budget. We have to do all of the work to also be serviced by the labor that it takes to run and operate our lives. We're operating and we're living at the same time. Now, the ironic and enraging thing to me about this, right, is that wealth culture, billionaire hustle culture, they tell us that we have to be able to do everything on our own in order to be successful. We have this concept of self-made, right? We have this idea, even within our communities, that we don't owe each other anything, that we don't have to support each other, that to be an adult is to set your own routines, to manage your own routines, to set up, maintain, run, and operate the infrastructure of our own lives autonomously without any outside help, and that to need outside help is actually a sign of weakness. Meanwhile, the wealthy wealthiest, most quote-unquote successful people in the world have a large interwoven and paid, essentially, network of community. And they've essentially outsourced what would be 10 hours of your day, 12 hours of your day, fuck it, I'll say it, the entire 24 hours of your day to this network. So these people are able to run 6 days, possibly 10 days, possibly of labor for a working class person within one 24-hour period because of how much support they have. And of course, I can hear the devil's advocate saying that a billionaire has more to do. But functionally, do they have more to do than a person that works an 8-hour shift at a gas station, plus manages child care, plus goes to a night school? Those are the same 24 hours in a day, right? Where all those things to get done, task by task, item by item. Is that actually true? I don't think so. I think one of the deeply insidious things about wealth and wealth culture in general is its ability to invisibilize labor and then purport a sense of self-sustained, self-made success and hard work, to grift and sell this mythology and make it seem like the lifestyle that they're living is actually significantly more accessible than it is, while convincing people that they just simply need to get better and stronger and more resilient at working and self-motivating individually.
And like I already mentioned, most people are actually willingly being fed this because they want to believe that hard work and hard work alone will get them where they want to be. But in reality, there are just too many other factors at play, like luck and being at the right place at the right times and connections. That is why I believe it is important to raise awareness around nepotism, because way too many people grow up believing the messages like, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything, or if I can do it, you can do it too. Like, you know, all those motivational phrases that celebrities you worship like to preach. What the same celebrities often fail to mention are the people they or their families knew in the industry, the financial cushion they had, and the safe, supportive environments they were raised in, none of which reflects the experience of the average person. And, you know, celebrity culture is already kind of fading. Like with the rise of social media, people have stopped looking up to them in the same way, or they just stopped caring about them in general. And I think celebrity culture would drop even more if famous people started being transparent about nepotism and class privilege being major factors in their success. The mystery and hype would fade pretty fast once people realize just how much help they've had along the way. Which is probably why conversations around nepotism feel so threatening to so many nepo babies, why they're literally foaming at the mouth, because it breaks the illusion that success, and their success in particular, is purely about hustle. Anyways, we've been here for way too long, and it is actually time to wrap this video up. And I guess the main takeaway of this video is this: you're not a bad person if you're coming from a family that is doing well. Like, you literally did not ask to be born there. And honestly, like good parents, they should help their kids along the way, especially in a world that is designed to make most people fail. Like, that is completely valid. Just please do not reinforce the bootstraps mentality. Don't try to downplay your advantages, but rather acknowledge them and use whatever privilege you have to do the right thing and push for change where you can, I guess. Yeah, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. I'm very curious to hear your takes on nepo babies and this whole Gracie Abrams conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing for more videos like this. And yeah, stay safe guys, and I'll see you in my next one.